Hello, everyone. I welcome all of you in the third session of this teacher training course. In this session, we will focus on meditation in Western perspective. Meditation is evolved in religious traditions, so it is obvious that whether it is Eastern religion or Western religion, all must have root of meditation in them. Meditation is the core practice of spirituality, and spirituality is the core of religion. In Western religions, spirituality means to be in union with the God, and when one meditates, he tries to be in the union with God, and therefore we find that the Western religions are of more mystical nature rather than spiritual nature as we find in the Eastern traditions. There are certain practices which are unique to all these Western religions, whether they are uh, Christianity or Judaism or Islam. There are certain other meditations which have also been widely practiced in Western cultures, but those meditations are of Eastern religions. We will see in this session how Western culture interprets and practices those Eastern meditations. Let us start our discussion with the historical roots of Western meditation. The historical roots of Western meditation is found in ancient Greek philosophy, especially in the time of the Socrates and Epicurus. Introspection and contemplation were two main forms of meditation in the ancient Greek. In the Christian era, we find Christian mysticism. In this practice, we find that Christian mysticism gives emphasis on prayer, silence, and meditative scriptural reading. Jews' meditation is known as Kabbalistic meditation, and it is of mystical nature. Now we would see that Christianity has some unique practices. Among the practices, there are three main practices which are known as Lectio Divina, and second is Jesus prayer, and third is centering prayer. These all meditations have evolved from 4th century Egypt and Palestine, and formalized later on in 12th century, and so on. The famous quote of Western Christian meditations is, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds." So far as Judaistic meditations are concerned, we find that it is more emphatic on mystical mindfulness and divine connection. The unique practices of this meditation is Hidbodedat. It is a kind of personal, spontaneous prayer in solitude, popularized by Rabbi Nachman of Breslau. Second unique practice of this tradition is contemplation of divine names. In this practice, one meditates on sacred Hebrew names like YHWH or Elohim. And third, which is very well-known practice of Judaism, is Kabbalistic visualization. In this practice, one uses Seri Firot, that is a kind of divine attributes, to ascend spiritually. The historical roots of Jewish meditations can be traced out to Isaac's meditation in Genesis 24:63, and these meditations developed through Markava mysticism in 1st to 6th centuries and Kabbalah in 12th century onward. These meditations expanded by Hasidic masters in the 18th century, emphasizing emotional connection and joy. The famous quote of Jews' meditations is, I place the Lord before me always. Now we would see the third, which is also a kind of a Western religion, and that is Islam. Islam emphasizes on surrender through remembrance. In this tradition, in this religion, we find some unique practices. They are known as dhikr and tafakur or murakab. So these are the three main practices which are going on in Islamic tradition. Dhikr is a kind of a repetition of divine names like Subhanallah, glory be to God, using prayer beats. And Tafakur is a kind of reflection deeply on creation and divine signs. And Murakab is a kind of Sufi practice of watching over the heart in silent awareness. The historical roots of Islamic meditations are found in the time of Prophet Muhammad, who meditated in cave Hira before receiving revelation. Dhikr rooted in Quranic injunctions to remember Allah often, and Sufi traditions from the 8th century formalized meditative practices like muraqabah. The famous quote of what we say Islamic meditations is, verily in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. So in this way, we find that there are certain unique practices of these Western religions, and all are going on from almost from the 4th century onward. Now we would see that the key Eastern meditations which have been adopted in the Western world, and among those key Eastern meditations, the first one is mindful meditation. It is inspired by the Buddhist meditation, which is well known as Vipassana, and it is adopted by John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn is a pioneer figure in the field of mindfulness and integrative medicine. He is born in 1944 in New York City. He is best known for founding the mindfulness based stress reduction. In short, it is said MBSR program at the University of Massachusetts Medical School in 1979. This program has since become a cornerstone of modern mindfulness practice used in hospitals, clinics, and wellness centers around the world. The another Eastern meditation, which is well received by the Western people, is transcendental meditation, which is known as TM in short. It is introduced by Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, who was the yogi of India in 20th century, and this meditation is popularized in the West, especially for stress relief. The third important Eastern meditation is guided visualization, which is being received by the Western people. And this meditation uses mental imagery for relaxation and healing. We also see that the scientific integration is going on in the field of meditation, and the Western scientists and doctors are doing some experiment on meditation. So they have found that meditation has its own effects on many health issues, whether they are physical, mental, emotional, or psychological. They have found that meditation is having effect on stress reduction, emotional regulation, cognitive function, and psychology and neuroscience backing practices like MBSR and MBCT. As I have said, MBSR means mindfulness based stress reduction, and MBCT means mindfulness based cognitive therapy. As I have said, that spirituality in Western context means to be in the union with the God. So it is often linked to personal relationship with God, whether it is Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. In all these three traditions, spirituality is seen as to be in the relationship with the God. Spirituality emphasizes on content-based meditation, prayer, scriptures, visualization, reflection on sacred stories, etc. And Western way of meditating is quite in contrast with the techniques which are based on Eastern practices. Because in the Eastern practices, we are focusing on the purity of the self and connection with the authentic self. But the Western religions are more emphatic on the content based meditations. They are not based on techniques like the Eastern meditations are best, and they are also not looking for inward, but they are looking for the God who is above them. So in this way, we find that spirituality in the Western context has some different outlook in comparison to the Eastern outlook. Now we would see that meditation is being received in modern time in the Western world in a very different manner, and that is in the sense of secular spirituality, meaning the people of modern time are not looking for any kind of religious affiliation for their spiritual practices. Second, meditation apps and wellness culture are developing day by day so that people can join those wellness centers and can get calm and coolness of mind. And apart from the mental peace, they are also looking for physical fitness and physical wellness. Next, that there is integration into of meditation into therapy, education, and corporate wellness programs in the Western world. And because of that, we are finding the meditation centers even in the hospitals, in the educational systems, and also in the corporate field. So in this way, the modern Western adoptions are not bound with some particular religion or particular culture. They are looking for all these meditative postures or yoga postures or meditations in a very secular sense. Now we would see that mindfulness based stress reduction, which is developed especially by the John Kabat-Zinn in 1979 at the University of Massachusetts Medical College, has combined mindfulness meditation and yoga. It has been used in hospitals, schools, and therapy for chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. It has also proven that meditation can reduce cortisol levels and improve emotional regulation. So in this way, we find that how these meditations, which are Eastern practices, but are being received in the Western culture in a very secular sense. East and West both are having meditations, both are practicing meditations, but in different outlook and from different purpose. So, how we can see that Western meditation and Eastern meditation are differing from each other. Now we would see that East and West both are practicing meditation, but the purpose and the methods of practicing in both the cultures, in both the traditions, are quite different, and how they are different. So, Western meditation often emphasizes mental health and personal growth, while Jain and Buddhist traditions are deeply rooted in a spiritual liberation. Jainism teaches that the soul is eternal and must be purified through a strict ethical conduct and asceticism. In contrast, Buddhism denies a permanent self and focuses on insight into impermanence. Western practices like mindfulness and breath work are often secular and therapeutic, whereas Jain and Buddhist meditations are embedded in broader spiritual and ethical frameworks. East and West both are practicing meditation, but they are also different in focus, in their goals, in their practices, in their integration. So, so far as the focus is concerned, we find that the Eastern meditations are based on some techniques, and the Western meditations are based on content. They are more God centric. So far as the goal of Eastern and Western meditations are concerned, we find that the Eastern meditations are looking for enlightenment and detachment, while the Western meditations are looking for self awareness and healing. So far as the practice of meditation in both the cultures is concerned, we find that the Eastern meditations emphasize in sitting silently, and inner observation, and there is mantra chanting on which one can focus for longer period, and the Western meditations are more emphatic on prayer and visualization integration. We see that the Eastern meditations are on a spiritual path, while the Western meditations are being used as therapeutic tools. We also see that the core focus, view of the self, techniques, ethical foundation, and goal of practice, role of teachers are also very different in Eastern and Western cultures. Core focus of Western meditation is stress relief and self awareness. View of the self in Western meditation is individual psyche and identity. Techniques which are being used in Western world is mindfulness, breath work, and guided imagery. So far as the ethical foundation is concerned, we find that they are focusing on psychological well being, rather than spiritual purification. Goal of practice is to achieve mental clarity, emotional balance, and the role of teachers. And we find that in Western meditation, we find mostly the therapists or coaches or secular guides to guide meditations. So far as Jain meditation is concerned, we find that the core focus of Jain meditation is liberation of the soul from karmic bondage. The view of the self is eternal soul. It means the Jain meditations are looking for realizing the eternal soul. The techniques of Jain tradition are praksha meditation, mantra chanting, pure perception, or visualization. Apart from all these, the contemplative meditation and practice of equanimity are also important practices of Zen tradition. Ethical foundation, as we know that Jainism is more into non-violence, so it is looking for non-violence and self-restraint to the extent one can go. And next is that the goal of meditation practice in Jainism is moksha, that is liberation from karmic bondage, and the teachers who are teaching meditation, they are mostly Jain monks and spiritual texts. Buddhist meditation is focusing on ending suffering through insight and ethics. It is more into impermanence of everything. It is using the technique of Vipassana, Zen meditation, and Metta, that is a loving kindness meditation. It is also using Eightfold Path like a Hindu tradition, but it is also emphatic on compassion. The goal of meditational practices in Buddhism is to achieve nirvana, that is a kind of cessation of suffering, and the meditation is being taught especially by the monastic religious congregation and the sutras, which are the original texts of Buddhist tradition. We know that there are a lot of benefits of meditation, whether they are being practiced in Eastern traditions or in the Western tradition. So, those meditations which are being practiced in the Western world, we find that they are finding that meditation is improving their mental health, enhancing their focus and productivity, giving greater emotional resilience, and increasing self awareness and empathy. In concluding remarks, I would like to say that Western meditation blends ancient wisdom with modern medical science. Spirituality is increasingly personalized and mystical in nature. Meditation is a bridge between inner peace and outer performance for the Western cultures. So, in this way, we find that meditation is being practiced in all different traditions of East and West, but they have different purpose, different goals, and also different methods and focus. So, with this, I would conclude my talk of today. If somebody has any questions, please let me know. And after question answer sessions, we would have a practical session for at least 15 minutes. Thank you very much for your kind attention and patience.